So if you're watching this, you're probably familiar with all the craziness that happened just a couple weeks ago. Reddit, a group named WallStreetBets, going after heavily shorted stocks and creating an insane short squeeze. From CNBC to market-related websites to social media to your next door neighbor, this is all everybody was talking about. And I have to admit, it was pretty smart, going after stocks that were heavily shorted, that if they can get some buying pressure and create some serious movement, that there could be a possible short squeeze. And that is exactly what happened, getting GME to go from right around 20 to a high of 483 in just 11 trading days. And AMC from 2 to 20 in the same amount of time. BlackBerry went from 8 to 28, Bed Bath & Beyond from 20 to 53, and a pretty crazy looking chart, Cost, going from 10 to 127 in just a few days. And all these stocks had very impressive moves, insane short squeezes, but as you can see, they've all started to come back to reality. As quickly as they went up, they came back down. But there is something that made that a little unfair. The brokers changing the rules and restricting people from trading definitely had a lot to do with that. Had that not happened, I think that these could have seen much higher prices. Regardless of that being fair or not, I think there is a lesson to learn from all of this. This just goes to show that there is a little bit of a hole in Wall Street's game. It's very interesting when a group of investors can come together and see an opportunity in the market, and they definitely took advantage of it. These heavily shorted stocks had a lot of people very comfortably short, and they were able to create enough buying pressure to get these things to squeeze. And you got to realize that they were not the only ones who were buying, obviously. They kind of started that trend. Retail investors, big money guys hopped on board, and then together as a whole collectively, they were able to make it happen. And that right there created tremendous opportunity in the short term. Now, as you can see, these have corrected, and I have no idea what's going to happen with these in the future. Who knows if they ever get back up to those short squeeze levels. But what this has done is change the way the average investor now looks at the market. I feel like everybody is looking for that next short squeeze. And as of right now, it looks like that next target is weed stocks. And the leader of the pack is a company, TLRY, TLRY. In the last 7 trading days alone, this has gone from 20 to 67. So that's a substantial upside move, but that's not the most interesting part of this whole thing. TLRY has had a history of squeezing before. It wasn't too long ago, back in 2018, when it went from right around 20 to a high of 300 in a very short period of time. And even though there is a lot of overhead resistance, people who bought this before, kind of from 80 and higher, they've been stuck in it for a while. So once they start to get their money back, I'm sure they're going to want to get out of their positions. But what this goes to show is that it's happened once before, so maybe it can happen again. And similar to the GME, AMC, and all the other short squeeze stocks, TLRY is obviously not the only one. Another name that's involved in this group is CGC. It's gone from 34 to 56 in a pretty short period of time. Another company, Aurora, ACB, that's gone from 12 to 19 in just a handful of days. APHA, which has gone from 14 to 32. CNBS, which is a cannabis ETF, which has gone from right around 24 to a high of almost 41 pretty quickly. MJ, which is another ETF, which has gone from 20 to 35 in just a handful of days. YOLO, which is a great ticker name considering the situation, has gone from 22 to a high of 31.87. These stocks look pretty strong. In a weird way, they look very similar to all the other short squeeze stocks prior to those crazy moves. And there are a lot of other companies in the sector, but these are just the main ones that I'm highlighting, the ones that I feel like are the biggest and the most talked about. But one of the main differences that I feel already is that these are actually real companies. Not that GME wasn't a real company, but it was on its way down. Weed, marijuana, the whole cannabis industry is kind of on its way up, and these are all a part of it. So I feel like a lot of these companies have a little bit more credibility, or at least more upside opportunity compared to a lot of the other stocks that were involved in the short squeeze just a couple weeks ago. Now, there's obviously a lot of companies in the cannabis and the wellness industry. Which ones will prevail, I have no idea, but just knowing that that could be a huge factor. That's one interesting factor, but another one is that this is now everywhere. It's mainstream, from online to on TV to on social media. It's the only thing that's talked about. WallStreetBets now has a track record of being able to create short squeezes, and everybody is going to want to be a part of the next one. So on top of the Reddit army, you're probably going to have a lot of average everyday individuals who are willing to put on a lot of risk. And nowadays, when it comes to weed and marijuana, I feel like people aren't as judgmental about it. So short squeeze aside, it could just be a place that people want to invest to diversify too. Now, regardless of all of that, in order for any of this to occur, in order for a short squeeze to happen, there has to be a lot of people on the wrong side. And the reason GME happened is because the short float was over 100%, which is nuts. And the moment that GME started to get going, there were a lot of people that started to feel some pain and had to get out of those positions, which created that insane move higher. And one of the main and very important differences between GME and TLRY is that TLRY only has a 46% short interest. Now, don't get me wrong, 46% is a very high amount, but it's not the over 100% that was out of control on GME. But when it's all said and done, I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. But knowing that TLRY did have a history of squeezing once, maybe it can happen again. And if TLRY, which is the leader of the pack, starts to go, you know that all the others are going to squeeze as well. So with the recent publicity of Reddit and WallStreetBets, it feels like there is a lot more eyes on this, so you never know what can happen. It's going to be very interesting to see. And if you would all take part in this, just know to be very careful, because as quickly as these can go up, they can come right back down, similar to all the other stocks before. And the last thing you want to do is try to have diamond hands and end up holding the bag. So that was my 2 cents on the situation, and now we'll see how high weed can go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.